DocuSign. All right, so DocuSign, we are going to be taking a look at how you will start your transactions in Command with DocuSign, okay? So DocuSign is how you will go to about accessing your forms in KW Command, okay? It's all in DocuSign. I'll show you how you can print out your forms, how you can fill out your forms, and how you can send your forms for electronic signature, okay? So the first thing that we'll want to do is let me show you where the notes are. Okay, for today's class. So if you prefer to read step-by-step notes, I'll show you where that is. And if you like learning by video, I have step-by-step ready for you guys as well on kwbresources.com. Okay, so this is, of course, our internal resource hub for KWB, right? So kwbresources.com. And so where the notes are for today's class are if you hover over Tech Resources on the very top black toolbar and click on that second option down for the Tech Calendar. Okay, that'll show you tech topics for each Tuesday and Thursday, but it also has all the notes underneath it. So again, I hovered over Tech Resources and then click on Tech Calendar. And you will just have to scroll down below here to find the notes for today's class. It is the fourth one down here for DocuSign. Okay, so if you want to click on that, feel free. I will throw these in the Zoom chat too, so you can just click on it right from there. All right, so right here, I'll reflect back to this, but this is where your written notes will be. So at the top, if you really like written notes, that top one is steps 1 through 10 on how to start a transaction in Command with DocuSign. Okay, so I'll click on that to open up a new tab, but just so you guys know too, the videos under it will break down everything I'm saying into 10-minute tip videos, okay? So I'll reflect back to here, but if you do want to pull up those notes, you can click on those steps right here, and this is what we'll be going through. You need to connect to the internet. Okay, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and we can go over this again together. We'll do like a one-on-one, and I'll show you how to do all of this. Okay, that sounds good. Just let me know if you have questions. Of course. All right, guys. So this is where the notes are, and again, let me throw this in the chat real quick. All right, so if you need to easily grab that, it is in the Zoom chat, or again, KWB Resources, hover over Tech Resources, Tech Calendar to scroll down for those DocuSign notes, okay? All right, so we're following those steps there, right? I did click on, so those DocuSign notes pull up this Google Doc. And if you like written steps a lot, I clicked on that very top option and it pulled up a new Google Doc, okay, that has steps 1 through 10 on how to start a transaction, okay, in Command with DocuSign. All right, so that first step there is we're going to log in to agent.kw.com. Okay, so that's Command, of course. All right, so I have that open here. So it's the agent login for kw.com. And the Wi-Fi password should be, oh, love that. Well, I'm glad it did what it was supposed to today. All right, guys, so agent.kw.com, right? That's the agent login for kw.com. This is where you log in for all of your tech resources. And this is also where you start your transactions, okay? So I'll reiterate this a lot, but the workflow is very important that they want you to use to be able to use Command and DocuSign together, okay? So it's very important that we do not go directly to DocuSign to create these rooms, okay? So these are the steps we're gonna wanna take instead so the two can work together. And I will say that a bunch, so no worries. But the first thing we'll want to do is make sure that our contact is in our database, okay? So if you click on the steps, you'll see that we're going to go on over to the contacts section of Command. Okay, and as you're learning your Command database, or learning your Command account in general, right, clicking on this KW logo on the very top left will tell you what each one of these icons mean. And honestly, the best thing that you can be doing over the weekend to learn your tech is just sit down, put your feet up, and click on each one of these and go through and just see what you have access to, okay? And then I'll dive in and show you each part of that together. In today's class, let's click on contacts, okay? So that contacts option, second option down here. And we do want to make sure we have a practice contact in there. Of course, you can do today's class for a real buyer or seller, but I might recommend clicking add contact from here so we can add yourself or a practice contact. I always really like practicing on myself before I send things to, everyone I know or a real client for that matter. Okay, so if you want to type in like practice contact, or if you want to put in your first and last name, okay, whatever you'd like to do for a practice contact, the email address, just a heads up, it won't allow a duplicate email, but I do recommend putting in maybe an email address that you have, right? So you can see what it looks like when you receive something from DocuSign. All right, but just a heads up, again, it will not allow you to put in a duplicate. If you're already in your database, it won't let you add your email again. Okay. One more thing to note here, this relationship field, okay? So it does not want you to put like John and Jane Smith all as one contact. It wants you to put John Smith as this one contact here, and then Jane Smith would be a totally separate contact. And you can link the two together by clicking add relationship. But that's important so that they can both electronically sign that they are set up as separate contacts, right? So let's say this is John Smith right here, right? And I could just click add relationship and add the spouse or whoever is, let's say, co-signing. All right, so those are the main fields I have to fill out, the name and email, and I can scroll down and click on create. Okay. And if it kicks back, if it doesn't save right away, like see, I already have this one in here. So if it'll tell you if you already have the email in here. So if it does not save when you click create, just go up and see if, I guess I have that one too. And click create. All right, so you can see if it doesn't click create right away, it's probably because you have that email address already in there. Okay, so now that we have that contact created, okay, so I have that contact created here, and I just simply, this is clicking on the contact to get here. So from your contact database, right, if I were trying to find this contact, again, all I would have to do is search for that contact to pull this up right away. Show you guys that real quick. So coming into the contacts moving forward to find that contact, right, I can use that search bar right here to, let's say, search for that contact name. And then I can simply click on their contact name and that'll bring you to where we were, right? That's looking at the contact details. Okay, so once that contact is added in, you'll see on the right-hand side, it says opportunities, okay? So that opportunities tab is, as corny as it sounds, you will create an opportunity anytime that you have an opportunity for a sale, okay? So on the right-hand side where it says opportunity, we'll click on create opportunity, okay? So again, you're creating this anytime that you have an opportunity for a buyer or a seller. All right, and there's really just 3 fields you have to fill out here. I'll walk you through that. So opportunity type. All right, that one is going to select if this is a listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. Either one you select today is fine. I'll tell you the differences as we go through, but they're essentially very similar. Let's say I select listing. So that's field 1. Client is field 2. So you see here I have my client I added in. If there is a co-seller signing, I'm just going to go ahead and add one so you guys can see what it looks like when 2 people sign. Right, so I have my clients who can sign. And the third and final field that you have to fill in is this commission rate at the bottom. And I'll say that again, but that commission rate is talking about your side of the commission, so that 3%, if they haggle you down, it's always changeable. So you'll really just want to put 3% there, unless you guys talked about something differently. And then you can click create to create that opportunity. So to go over those 3 fields that we just filled in to create an opportunity, right? We click create opportunity. We told it was a listing opportunity. We put the client's name in, field 2. And lastly, we did the commission rate, okay? And we'll click create. Of course, feel free to stop me if you have any questions at all. Okay, and it creates that opportunity there, okay? So I always recommend finding my opportunities like this as well, going to the contact section here and clicking on the contact name. And then you'll always be able to see on the right-hand side if you have 1 opportunity created or 2, right? So you'll create a different opportunity. If they, let's say, if they are selling their home with you and buying the next one, you would have two separate opportunities because it's two separate properties. So you create an opportunity per transaction, okay? This is how you get your paperwork signed and how you get paid, all right? So this is very important to know and do these steps. All right, so now that I created that opportunity, I'll simply click on the opportunity name to open it up. And this is where we get into DocuSign. Okay, so that'll open up the opportunity in Command. And these next few steps of the workflow are very important when you're starting it, okay? So to get into DocuSign, we're going to click on the Documents tab here. This is the important part of the workflow. So from the Documents tab, don't do this yet, but we will click Start a Transaction on the right-hand side to start the DocuSign room and link them together. However, it's really important before you click Start a Transaction, so this is the part of the workflow that is so essential for your efficiency. See where it says Pick Checklist Type on the left-hand side here? We want to always select that. And by the way, if you selected a buyer opportunity, you'll have different checklists. So depending on if you had a listing opportunity or buyer, it'll give you different checklists. Sabra and Tasha set this up. But I would go ahead and select whichever one would apply to my transaction. So let's say this one's a North Carolina listing / sale. When I select that, what that does is on the left-hand side, you can see it adds the folders and a checklist of the forms I need in order to get paid. And I'm going to come back to this, okay? But why this is so important that you select the checklist first and then start transaction is it's going to automatically pull in all the forms that are required, or the forms with the DS next to it. It'll automatically pull all those forms into DocuSign for you, so you don't have to find them all separately. All right, so again, that workflow is we selected the checklist first. Now we're going to select Start a Transaction on the right-hand side, and it will pull in all the required forms I need. And just a heads up, if you are working on a buyer opportunity, I know the first one is consultation, so there's only sample forms. If you click on the under contract one on the left-hand side, you'll see more of what we'll pull in. But essentially, what you need to know is we select the checklist and then click Start a Transaction. Okay. Start a transaction, and it should only give you it shouldn't give you an option. It should just automatically go to DocuSign unless you have a pop-up blocker on. So if it doesn't pop up automatically, let me know. But it will prompt you to log into DocuSign. You need to remember this password because you'll log in the first time of every day for security. All right, but what you'll see once it logs in is it automatically adds all of my DocuSign forms for me. And if you want, I can catch you up. Just know. Oh, that comes from Scott Lorry Marketing. Good question. So that Scott Lorry Marketing setup sheet that would have come to your personal email. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it might not be there yet, but we can also look together. But that will have all of your passwords on it. So yeah, if you haven't gotten that, you're right. You can't really go far. But we're going to just do this together. So just know that you'll learn all this one-on-one with me, and you'll be all set, of course. All right, so as you can see, all these forms automatically pulled in here, right? The reason they did is because I selected that checklist first. If I didn't select that checklist first, no big deal. I mean, I would have to go manually get all of those forms, right? It's not the end of the world, but you can see how much more efficient it makes it to automatically have all your required forms just automatically added in. So to make sure, first of all, that you have access to your forms, if you'd like to click on one, it will open, and well, it'll either open or give you an error telling you that you need to connect your forms. And anyone online, if you click on the form and it tells you to go put in your realtor ID, I can walk through those steps. But Amy, I think yours is done. Monica, I'm not sure for you, but please just let me know if you need help connecting your Nerds ID to DocuSign, because I'll be required to get your form. If your form just popped up, then you should be good. So you can ignore what I said. Okay. So clicking on a form will open it, and you'll see a lot of that information starts to already autofill, right? Like the client's information autofilled over from Command. Your brokerage information will autofill, right? Your contact information. So the main part that we're doing here is scrolling down, and you can fill in any fields that have not already autofilled. And of course, on the what to fill out, your coaches will guide you here. But on the how, right, it's as simple as clicking to select the radio dots, simple as clicking to start typing in, let's say, the address. And what's cool about DocuSign 2, okay, let's say I put in the address right here one time, well, then it will start it'll autofill that address onto every single form in this DocuSign room, so you don't have to type that out again. So the forms autofill back and forth. So what I'm doing is I'm going through and I can simply click to type, and at this point, I would go through and fill out the entire form first, okay? You won't see the initial fields yet, and that's totally normal. But as you can see, you just scroll to click and start typing here. And if you have questions on that, feel free to let me know. I'm going to show you two things you can do at this point. First of all, I will show you how to access more forms. But I'm going to show you how you can print your forms and bring it to your appointment with you if you would like to. Okay? But if you want to get it electronically signed, of course, I'll be showing you that as well. Okay? So I'm going to click on Save and Close, and I'm going to show you those three items next. So I'll click on Save and Close on the top right. And that will save the form with whatever you typed in, of course, and take you back to all of your forms here, right? So now first, let's talk about if I need additional forms, right? Yes, I automatically added all those forms. How do I get more? And if you didn't automatically add your forms, you could manually go get them all in this Add button on the top right. So that Add button on the top right, you'll see the second option down is that blue icon that says DocuSign Forms. You'll notice that that is the same icon as right here. That indicates that those forms are just typable. You can open it and start typing in words right to it. And I'll show you the other icons that will pop up after we get forms signed. But again, that second option down under Add, sorry, that was a little fast, DocuSign Forms, second option. Click on that, and that'll bring up all the forms that you have access to. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see the forms broken up into folders, and this is what Sabra and Tasha do for you. Or you'll also see like the entire folder from Canopy or the North Carolina and South Carolina associations. But I usually recommend, I like to find it in the folders because it's already broken down, right? So I can click on whichever folder I want. I can search for the form that I need, and I can simply click on the form name to add that in. Or I'm sorry, click on the checkbox to the left of it and click Add Selected to add that in. Okay. So you can add further forms, again, all from Add and DocuSign Forms. Okay, if you have questions, let me know. Next, I'm going to show you how you can type in your forms and print them out, okay? So as we saw, right, filling out the forms, right, is the first thing we generally do. And editing your forms is as simple as clicking on it, and then you just start typing in the fields, okay? Now, you'll get clients that don't trust electronic signatures, or let's say you just want to be able to explain the listing agreement to them in person. Whatever the reason is, let's say we go through and we typed in the form like we did. Now I want to print it out, okay? Bring it with me. To do that, so these check boxes on the top, okay, notice that when I click a checkbox, it makes this bulk action menu appear, okay? That's just not even there unless I click a checkbox, so I want to point that out. You click the checkbox, it'll then pop up. So let's say I want to print out a couple of my forms here to bring on my appointment. I could select multiple, just select one. I can select all at the very top if you just want to bulk print out all your forms. All right, and then I can select this print icon. Okay, so that's how you can bulk do things. And of course, these icons don't say what they do unless you hover your mouse and not click, then it'll pop up. I find that that's helpful, that you can use pretty much across the internet, and that helps a lot. So that's how you can bulk do things. But if you want to just, let's say, print one form. So if you open the form, I just want to show you that all of those options are also available to do one at a time on your forms from this document actions icon on the very top right. It looks like a piece of paper, dog-eared. Okay, and that's just where you can go ahead if you want to download it from here or print it, right? Or you'll notice this term that if you've never used DocuSign before will probably be a new term. Creating an envelope, okay? That's what I'm going to show you next, and that's how you can get it electronically signed, okay? But of course, if you want to just print it out and bring it on your appointment, you can do it right from here. But DocuSign is primarily used for electronic signatures. People are very used to it by now, right? So let me show you how you could, of course, send one form at a time or multiple. So if I wanted to just send this listing agreement, let's say, what I would do is fill out the entire form first, right? I click each field, I go through and fill out the entire form first. And then I always recommend clicking save and close first. I've just noticed if you don't click save and close and try to print it before then, it doesn't print out your changes, which is silly. So I click save and close on the very top right there. And that'll take me back to all of my forms, of course. And typically, of course, when you're sending a form, let's say we're sending the listing agreement, we also want to send the working with real estate agents, right? Or we might want to send the residential property disclosure, right? Whatever forms you want to send, you can send multiple at a time or one at a time by selecting the checklist on the top of that form that you want to send. Of course, in practice, I would have already clicked on each one of these forms I'm sending to fill it out and edit it first. So the first step is always clicking to open the form to fill it out to edit it, okay? So now for electronic signatures, I'll select the check boxes that I want to send. And you'll notice that same little icon, it's a pen icon, that create envelope, right, on the bulk action menus. Okay, creating an envelope, I'll channel snail mail here to explain it to you, right? But it's essentially like we took our forms and we're going to send it in the mail. Okay, first thing I do is I grab an envelope and I'm going to add the people on the outside of the envelope. So it's asking me, who do I want to sign this form? Okay, so I'm going to select, I'm representing the seller in this example. And since it's a listing agreement, I need to sign that as well. So I'm selecting the listing agent, so me to sign, and my two sellers, and I'll click continue. And so what it's going to do is going to pull all the contact information from Command over to DocuSign. So it generally takes like 30 seconds here, maybe 45 to load. And then it will load what they call an envelope. So channeling snail mail, right? Each time that you go to send one form or a group of forms, we create an envelope to put those forms in and add the people to it. Have you ever used DocuSign before? Have you been in real estate for a while? Gotcha. We'll catch up. Yeah, the KW DocuSign is created specifically for realtors and KW. So even if you have used DocuSign in the past, it's generally different. Yeah. Okay, so what we're looking at here, this is the envelope, and you can see that lag time it took to load. That's normal, just so you guys don't think something's wrong when that happens. It's because it's pulling it from Command, the contact info. So in this envelope, right, I see at the top, okay, these are the documents that are going to be sent. I scroll down and I see the recipients that are pulled over, okay? So there is something you guys need to know here. You see the 1, 2, and 3 here? Okay, what that is saying, just type it in, yeah. What that 1, 2, and 3 is saying, and that is on by default, as you can tell, is that the person marked as a number 1 will receive the form first. Once that person signs, then the second person will receive it to then sign. Once that person signs it, then the person marked as a 3 will sign, okay? Now, I'll tell you when it's a good idea to use this. First of all, it's important really how you explain it to them. If you just uncheck this box, let's start there. Unchecking the box would send all of them the form at the same exact time to sign, okay? If you go that route, that's good. There's one time the residential property disclosure and mineral rights, anytime that they need to fill out a form, that's when we use that 1, 2, 3. But generally, let's say you just need them to sign, okay? Anytime they just need to sign, I always recommend just uncheck that box. Then they'll all receive it at the same time, okay? It's really important just how you explain it. For example, if you leave that 1, 2, and 3 on and send it and tell both of them, hey, I just sent the form over. Well, person number 2 is going to be very confused because no, they don't have the form until person number 1 signs it, okay? And again, I'll tell you when we do use this, 90% of the time, I recommend unchecking it so they all receive it at the same time, okay? Now let's talk about when we do use it, because again, it's on by default. It really doesn't matter. If you leave it on by default, just make sure you adjust your script and, tell them, that they're not all receiving at the same time. But the time we do use 1, 2, 3, okay, mineral rights and residential property disclosure, right? One person needs to fill it in, and then the second person signs for what that person did, okay? So if it's a form that they need to fill out, right? Like the residential property disclosure or the mineral and oil gas rights, that would be a time that you do the 1, 2, 3, okay? Because what that does, it sends it to person number 1 and gives them the opportunity to fill out the entire form first. Once they fill it out and sign it, it then sends it to person number 2 to sign for what they wrote in there. And then it'll send it to you to sign. Any questions on that? Okay. And of course, when the time comes, you guys can meet with us once a week, right? So just know we can go through this together as your transactions come. Okay. I'll talk more about that. But there is a spot on the bottom for a message. You don't have to put anything in here. I do usually recommend changing the email subject so you can tell what you sent in here. So if you wanted to write in, let's say the resident or the exclusive right to sell and working with real estate agents, it usually helps so you can see what's in the subject or what's in the folder. Envelope rather. You can add a message. So for example, if you guys talked on the phone and you're referencing, let's say, a personal property item they have, and you wanted to jot down a reminder here, right? You absolutely could. But again, like 8 times out of 10, you just leave it blank unless there's something specific you want to tell them about on the form. And I'll click on next. And we really did, okay, up until this point, I know that was, quite a bit of information to remember. But at this point, we're checking over our work and sending it. So we did it, right? We did all of the things that you have to do administratively. So now let's just take a look at what we're looking at, because this is where it automatically adds the signature and initial fields for you. We're checking it over and we're pressing send, okay? I'm going to tell you a few things about it, but just know we're on the home stretch here. So first of all, these colored initial boxes on the bottom, okay, those correlate to this drop down on the top left, okay? So I can see each of my clients have a separate colored dot correlated to them. And so I can easily glance down and see that, okay, all 3 people can sign this page, right? So all I'm doing on this page is I like to look through it, and you can do this in a couple different ways. First of all, yeah, I can just glance through and scroll. I can see on the right-hand side, these tabs indicate that they can fill out, right? The colors means they have a place to sign on there. But really, what I do in practice is I click on preview on the top right to just preview the form as my client would see it so I can sleep at night, all right? So all I'm doing here is, again, I clicked on preview. At the top here, it gives you the option to view it as your client, so I can make sure they can sign all the places they need to. Now, the form is set up for you for that to happen, but if you want to check over your work, this is how I usually do it. I just click start, and it shows it to me like I'm my client, right? It takes them down to each and every one. Of course, they can scroll up to read it, but you can see how it takes them right to the field to sign it. And if you did spell their name wrong or anything, it does give them the option to edit their signing name before they sign for the first time. So you guys know. So really, I'm just previewing it. I don't have to do this at all. So I can click on the X on the top right once I feel good about it. Right. So on this page, I don't have to do anything except preview it, and I can click send. Okay. So once you click send on the very bottom right, it will send that over to their email. Okay, and now I'm going to talk to you guys about how you sign as the agent and what signed forms look like when it comes back, because the dynamic is different from other platforms. So how you sign it as the agent. So first of all, you can sign it in 2 ways. So depending on how you set it up, first of all, it'll send to your email for you to sign. Okay, so you can always sign from your email. But see, where I am right now is in this envelopes tab, right? I keep saying that word. These are the main 2 places that you are within DocuSign, right? Documents, that's where we started. That's where all our docs are. We edited all our forms there, right? Once we send the forms or a group of forms, I can see each time that I sent one or multiple forms from this envelopes tab. And this is where that subject would show me, if I would have updated that to the exclusive right to sell and working with real estate agents, so I can easily see what I sent in this. All right, but to sign it, I can click on that as well. So if I click on it, okay, now of course I set this up, right, as that 1, 2, 3, right? So I can't sign it until after person 1 and 2 does, right? However, if I set this up all as 1, it would give me the option to just go ahead and sign it here. Now, of course, talk to your coaches, but in practice, I believe realtors tend to wait until after their clients have signed it. Again, run that by your coaches. One more thing, okay, to know is the signed copy will not come back to your DocuSign room until all parties have signed, okay? So what will happen is you'll get an email notification each time that someone signs. So let's say seller 1 goes to sign, you get a notification that they did sign with a copy of that PDF to your email, all right? However, you will not get the fully signed copy, or you won't get the copy back in your DocuSign room at all until all parties have signed, okay? So let's say you got a notification that your client 1 signed, but client 2 is really holding up the process, right? you can resend it to them. Okay, and I'll just resend it to the person who has not signed. Okay, now this is the final stretch here. I just want to show you what it looks like when they sign, and I'll also show you how you can add it to get paid. Okay, so those are the final things we need to do and go over today. All right, and if you have any questions, of course, please let me know, but I'll X out of that on the top right. And if you just want to watch on my screen, I'm going to switch to another DocuSign room I have that has signatures already in it, so that I can show you what it looks like, because the forms do look differently when they come back signed. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how the forms come back signed. All right, so you can see these icons, right? I referenced this icon at the beginning, that blue icon. The forms icon is that same icon when you click on add to add more. Those are the forms that are just typable. They're interactive forms, right? The two other icons you'll see in Command are, or DocuSign rather, is the signed icon, okay? So what happens is once you send a form off to be signed, the original copy will stay in your room, right? It stays here. This is the original copy of the form. Once I sent it to be signed, a separate copy of the form comes back with the signed icon, and you'll notice if you click on it, it's a PDF, meaning it's not fillable like the other one was. It preserves their signatures, right? So I can't change it. This one doesn't have it, but you'll see signatures on the bottom when you scroll down, right? And so anytime that you get a form signed, you'll always have the signed separate copy, and the original copy will have that blue forms icon, right? And you can see that I can separate them in folders. I'll tell you more about that in a second here. I just want to tell you first, one more icon you'll see is a PDF. So that PDF, in the case that if you wanted to bring in, let's say, agent on the other side sent you an email with the contract signed by their clients, right, as a PDF. Okay, can I get my clients to sign that? And the answer is yes, right? You can add from your computer a PDF, and I go over this in the advanced class. If you guys need to know it sooner, I can absolutely show you. But it allows you to edit PDFs, and it allows you to add signature fields to a PDF. So if you guys need those steps, actually, I think it might be on these steps here, but shoot me an email. I'm going to put my email in the chat. And anything I say in today's class that you want to know more about, of course, feel free to book with us or shoot me an email. The final thing I want to show you guys is how to add your signed forms to Command to get paid. Before I do that, I want to show you guys how you can book with us. It's free for you guys to book with us. You can book with us once a week, right? kwbresources.com, right? It says I need tech help on the top right. That's our Calendly link. So we're here from 12 to 2, Tuesday through Friday. Absolutely at your disposal. You can meet with us for free once a week, right? So your job for these classes, right, and these classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays, is to come in and understand what features exist. And then when you have a transaction, if you want to meet with us that week, we can help you navigate the entire thing on the how, okay? So just so you guys know how the resources are set up, feel free to let me know if you have any questions on that. So the final thing I just want to show you guys is how you get your forms into Command to get paid. So in order to get paid, this is essential, okay? All right, we've been in DocuSign the entire time. So if you have multiple tabs open like I do, I feel like this is my brain all the time, but you'll see at the top here that the DocuSign icon, that's that yellow one, okay, with a down arrow. And then you probably still have the KW icon open with your opportunities, okay? So let's talk about how the command system, right? Okay, I'm in documents in command, but there's also documents in DocuSign. How do they work together? That was very confusing to me when I first started using this together, okay? So I'm gonna explain that. So DocuSign documents are used between you as the agent and your clients to get your forms, type them in, and get your forms signed. So again, DocuSign is used between you as the agent and your clients to get your forms signed. Once they are signed, that's when the command opportunity comes in, right? So that command tab, the documents here, once they're signed, this is used between the agent and the market center to do compliance so you can get paid, okay? So what happens after you get your forms signed is Carla does compliance on your forms to make sure you filled them out correctly, you have them signed where they need to be, essentially keeps you out of real estate jail, and they hold your check until everything's correct, okay? So that's what makes this an important part. All right, so what we're seeing here, I'm in the my opportunity in the documents tab, and if you need help getting back here, please don't hesitate to let me know. All right, but where I am in these checklists, right, this was the essential part I harped on, that we need to select the checklist first, right? This is what this checklist does. Okay, so the checklist here will show you all the forms that you're required to add to get paid, okay, or to be in compliance. So on the left-hand side, especially if you selected a buyer one, you might need to select under contract first. Okay, there's a whole class about this that Carla teaches on how to get paid. It's a part of like Ignite. I'm sure you guys have been to it. If not, it comes once a month. Look out for the next one. To give you a brief overview of that, right? Depending on, let's say I'm going live my listing. Okay, typically within 3 days to a week of going live in the MLS, Sabra and Tasha want you to have your forms in here, okay? So what I'm looking at here is a list of forms that I need and a drop down that would attach the files from DocuSign, okay? So if they are signed in DocuSign, I can simply click on that drop down and it would show me all my signed forms or PDFs specifically from that drop down. So all I have to do is click on the name, and once it's signed, it'll show up there. Alternatively, if you got those hand signed, you can just pull them from your computer. So just know that that's an option, right? I can switch DocuSign to pull it from your computer instead. So if you get all your forms hand signed, agents do it all the time. Just know that's an option. And you simply just pull it in from your computer, right? You can scan it. We have a scanner in the office, and then pull it in here. Okay. And you would add those forms in when you go live, when you go under contract, and when you closed. Okay. Now, I know this is a really quick overview. So your goal is to know that this exists. So when you have a transaction, if you want to meet with us, I used to do compliance in the office, so I'll just help you get your forms in there, okay? So more know that this exists, book an appointment with us, we'll help you with it, right? It's a lot of information, so don't feel like you have to like keep all of this in your head, because I know it for you. But again, where these notes are, okay, just to show you one more time to follow along if you need it, because I also have the video, okay? So 2 things to note, because for me, how I learned this is I watched a video and paused it to follow along. I mean, what you guys are doing. But when you have a real transaction, on KWB resources on the main page, right here, can't miss video of the week, it's me explaining what we just went through, okay? It's step by step how to get to your forms, fill them out, send it to your client. So the first time that you have a transaction, I would recommend coming here, pause my video, and follow along. It's exactly how I learned it. Of course, you can meet with us as well, but this, allows you at 2 a.m. to dive in if you need to. What questions can I answer on DocuSign? If you're online, feel free to shout those out. I know this is all very new for you. Okay, I know it's a lot, but I'm here for it. Okay, good. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad. That's my hope, because it is so much, right? And depending on the transaction, there's so many different things, right? And that's where your coach will come in, if you have any strategic questions, but then I can help you with the how on the tech side. And if you guys have any questions online, feel free to shout those out, or if you do want to see anything further in Command for that matter, please let me know. I can show you anything that you need. If you have questions or anything, I'll be sticking around. That is the main bulk of DocuSign. But again, shout out, if you're online, shout out questions or put them in the chat and I can show you anything in Command. Is there anything in Command that you would like to see in general? Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So as the next step is you'll get your tech setup from Scott Lorry Marketing. It will go to your personal email, whatever you gave them. So keep an eye out for that, because that'll be great to, it just has all your login. It's going to look pretty overwhelming as well, but really have you set up an appointment with us? Should we do that real quick? Okay, let's do that. If I know we're booked out this week, but if you have next week available, and of course you can come on here anytime to do it, but like next week we have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Do you have 12 or 12:30 by chance? All right, great. What is your email? I guess so, because you don't have your KW email yet, right? Okay, that'll go to your Gmail. And as you can see, if you're still online, this is how you can make an appointment with us, KW office or Zoom. All right, that'll go to your email to invite you. Add it to your calendar. All right. I'm glad that helped, guys. I will be sticking around. If you think of any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or shoot me an email, and I'm happy to get back to you guys. Thanks for coming.